Tutsan is an evergreen shrub that can grow pretty much anywhere. It forms a shrub up to about 1.5 metres. It was brought into New Zealand over 100 years ago now. Tutsan can grow pretty much anywhere. Where we're seeing it in the Waikato is down the riparian areas, the fenced off areas. It's also growing on the roadsides where it seems to get really well established. The other areas that are a concern to us as well is growing on the hill country farming. So those areas are the low economic areas where there's not a lot of production on them, and they really love those spaces. So some of the ways you can identify Tutsan are it has a oval leaf about 2 centimetres long. It has a waxy coat on it, and which can make it a little bit difficult to manage, but there are ways around that. The other identifying features, it has a lovely little yellow flower which flowers generally before Christmas, and then that flower will form into a red berry, and then after that it forms into this dark black dried up little seed pod, you could say, and within that seed pod is a whole lot of dusty seeds. So if you'd ever to grab one and rub your hands together with it, it would have a dust. Tutsan is starting to become reasonably widespread. It's in isolated pockets, it seems, all over the Waikato. The main areas of concern at the moment is the Te Pahu area and the Paronga area. That's where it seems to be getting well established on that hill country farmland and up those riparian areas. Tutsan can cause a lot of damage, especially around hill country farming. Generally those areas, the farmers aren't getting a lot of production off them anyway, so you add a weed like Tutsan to it, and say if it took over 20, 30, 40% of the paddock, that's 30, 40% of the paddock they're not going to be able to farm. The other concern is in our forestry or native forests, indigenous forests, where it can compete for other plants that should be growing on the ground. Tutsan spreads through its little red berry, which the birds can pick up, but also it can spread through that dusty pod. The other way it can spread too is through just machinery in general, people's cars and gear as they go through these paddocks, and also wind. As the pod explode or break up through the wind can pick it up and move it as well. There are a number of things we can do to stop the spread of Tutsan. One is make sure machinery entering your farm or property is clean. Who knows where that machine was before? If it was working on the roadside or a farm that had Tutsan, then there's a high chance that there'll be seed on that machine. The other area that you can have to look out for is on the roadside. So if it is appearing on your roadside with your property, then managing it at that point is a good way of stopping it from coming into your property. The other way of stopping it spreading is as soon as you do see it on your property, get rid of it straight away. It can get established very easily and spread very easily as well. So if a landowner does have Tutsan on their property, one thing they can do is give the Waikato Regional Council a call, and we can give them very good advice on how to manage Tutsan. But there are also other ways you can do it yourselves. A number of different brush killers you can buy out at farmlands or RD1 or any of those agricultural stores will be able to help manage Tutsan.